Well, the San Francisco 49ers will host the Green Bay Packers this Saturday in the 2013 NFC Divisional Round. The game is going to be at 5 p.m. Eastern and picks up what has developed into a very, very solid rivalry since the mid-90s. The Packers have the edge, having won 4 of 5, but the 49ers are coming off a win earlier this season in Week 1. I wanted to break down some of the matchups that we are going to be looking at this weekend. Not straight, positional units, but kind of a look at a variety of different areas of the game that could impact things. So let's get right to it. The first one I wanted to look at is the passing game. Obviously, it's pass offense versus pass defense, but really I just wanted to compare the passing attacks. And in looking at them, obviously you've got to give the edge to the Green Bay Packers. Even with some of the injuries they've dealt with with Jordy Nelson and Greg Jennings, they still have Aaron Rodgers. He hasn't had a monstrous season like in some of his recent years, but he's still Aaron Rodgers. It's still the playoffs. He brings his game to another level once we get to the playoffs. He's obviously got Randall Cobb and James Jones, plus he does get Jennings back and potentially Nelson. On the other hand, the 49ers, Colin Kaepernick did lead the league in yards per attempt when you factor in a minimum of 200 attempts. But the 49ers are dealing with a lot of injuries in the passing game, with Mario Manningham and Kyle Williams out. It's going to be a pretty tough challenge, obviously, because Colin Kaepernick is making his first playoff start. So we'll see how that pans out for him. But for now, got to give the edge to the Packers. On the other hand, when you look at the rushing game, it's clear and obvious that the 49ers have the edge. The Packers will be rolling out Devon Harris, who has sort of become their workhorse back in recent weeks. But again, last week he had 17 carries for 47 yards, and even though he didn't really need to do a whole lot against the Vikings, it's going to be tough to get anything going against the strong 49ers defense. On the other hand, you've got Frank Gore, Lamichael James, Anthony Dixon. The team was third in the NFL in yards per attempt this past season, averaging 5.1. So clear edge to the 49ers, and that really could prove to be their key to victory. So move on to experience. The 49ers, their entire team has gained playoff experience from last year's run to the NFC Championship game, but I still got to give the edge to the Packers just because they've been there, they've gone to the Super Bowl, they've taken care of business, and that's really irreplaceable. I think 49ers can obviously still win, but in terms of experience, you got to give the edge to the Packers heading into this game. As we look into sort of the X factor, I think a lot of people will discuss Colin Kaepernick as an X factor for the 49ers, but in reality, I think it's Lamichael James. And for the Packers, I think you're looking at Randall Cobb as that X factor. You've got two guys that do they can do some similar things, can be mixed up in a lot of different ways, and also help out in special teams. Lamichael James is averaging 29.8 yards per kick return over 14 returns, and that would actually place him second in the NFL if he qualified. He seems to be a little more open to coming out of the end zone with the ball and is really showing that he can make plays with it. You can also add in that he's averaging 4.6 yards per carry. He's making some plays in the passing game. He's really just doing a whole lot ever since taking over for Kendall Hunter. On the other side, you've got Randall Cobb, who really didn't do a whole lot last week against the Vikings. But again, the Packers really didn't need to do much. And so I think we'll see plenty of Cobb, especially when they can roll him out in the slot against Carlos Rogers, who sometimes can have some trouble with players out in the slot. Really, though, I would have to give the edge to the 49ers in this X Factor, just in part because James has just shown so many different things, and yet there's not a whole lot of tape on him. Whereas the 49ers know kind of what Randall Cobb can do. They know what to expect, where he's going to be at different parts of the game. Lamichael James, it remains a significant X factor just because of the lack of game tape at this point. Special teams, you have to give the edge to somebody, I think, and I'd have to go with the Packers just because, both teams, this is kind of just really not pretty at all. Obviously, the return games are solid in terms of Randall Cobb, Lamichael James, Ted Ginn, but when you look at the kickers, you've got Mason Crosby, who basically was ranked dead last this season in field goal percentage, and then you had David Akers, who was second to last. Akers has been dealing with some hernia issues and complications from surgery, so suddenly 49ers having themselves a kicking competition with Billy Cundiff brought in. I expect Cundiff to play this weekend, but he has never kicked at Candlestick Park, and neither has Mason Crosby, so I give the Packers the edge ever slightly, but really I don't think any of us are winners in this one. Finally, We don't have injury reports yet, but we know kind of some of the players that are going to be on them. For the 49ers, the significant issue is Justin Smith. He's expected to play, but one of the issues is, of course, how much strength he'll have in that arm while he's dealing with a partially torn tricep muscle. On the other hand, Green Bay is dealing with Jordy Nelson limping off the field, Jerome Worthy being out for the game. I think the edge, again, in terms of injuries, goes to the Packers as they've been getting healthier, while the 49ers are still trying to figure their way through some injury issues. All that being said, of course I have to pick the 49ers to win because I think they can win, and I'm an incredible homer. I think I'm going to go with a 31-27 victory. The last 3 49ers home playoff games have been decided by a total of 8 points, so this one obviously has to be a close one. So we'll see how it plays out, and of course we'll have a recap after the game. Talk to you then.